Okay, let's take a look at first base and what the first baseman's responsibilities are on the field. So the first baseman's area that they need to be able to cover is about this area. So if there's a ball or a pop up hit in foul territory, the first baseman should make every attempt to get to the outfield or foul ball area and be able to cover and catch that ball. Some fields, the foul territory is a lot larger than other fields, and because of a fence or a dugout or something, but the first baseman should break and be able to cover this amount of area. Now, the first baseman is usually going to go to first base and catch, the ball thrown from the third baseman or the shortstop or even the pitcher and the second baseman. Now, there are certain situations where the first baseman needs to make sure that they go towards the ball and understand that someone else is going to cover the base. Now, usually that'll happen in a ball that's hit kind of to this area because what's going to happen is the first baseman's going to come over. Let me just get this out of the way. The first baseman's going to come over. Second baseman's going to charge. And what the pitcher needs to do is rotate over to try to get the ball. And if the ball goes through, they need to go and cover first, meaning the pitcher needs to come over and go and cover first. If the first baseman's able to pick up the ball, they will step and throw to first. If the second baseman is able to get the ball, they will throw the ball to first base, which is covered by the pitcher at that point. Now, the first baseman needs to understand where the second baseman is and where the second baseman is playing because it is a quick play. Meaning, if the ball is hit and the first baseman takes 2 or 3 steps and is able to get it, then they're able to just pitch it or flip it to the pitcher who is covering. Now, if they need to take 5 or 6 or even 7 steps to get to the ball, they have to realize that the second baseman is in better position to cover or throw that ball to first base because they don't need to rotate their body in any way and able to throw it because the second baseman's right-handed, the glove's on the left, so they just need to scoop up the ball and then fire it to first, which will be covered by the pitcher. Now, the first baseman needs to understand and listen for the second baseman calling the first baseman off. So if there's a hard hit ball or a ball hit up towards the second baseman and the first baseman is running towards it, the second baseman needs to make sure that they yell, me, so that the first baseman will let the ball go so the second baseman can grab it and throw it to first, who's being covered by the pitcher. Now, that doesn't mean the first baseman, a ball hit, let's say, here, and it's a slow roller, to just look at it and let it go by them, expecting the second baseman to come over and get it. Now, it's kind of a play where you need to make a judgment call in the moment, but you should realize how far off you are from first base and where your second baseman's playing. Now, if your second baseman is playing deeper in the hole or closer to second, then you have more of an area to be able to cover. Whereas if the second baseman is playing on the grass, you know that person's going to be able to make up that ground and be able to cover or get the ball and then throw it to first. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you run 3 feet and then all of a sudden come back to get to the base, because that's just going to cause confusion. That is why we need the pitcher to run and cover the base. Anytime the first baseman needs to run 3 steps, obviously depending on who's there, 3 or 4 steps going for the ball, the pitcher should automatically be coming off the mound and going to first base. So if the ball is thrown and the batter hits it, the pitcher should be coming towards it anyway. Now, if they get it, that's great. They could either, if the first baseman's out of position over here, then they could run to first base and beat the runner to first base. If the first baseman is not out of position and the pitcher's able to get it, then they just simply show the ball in the hand and either throw it nicely overhand or do a flip to the first baseman where it's going to give the first baseman an opportunity to catch it. Now, the first baseman should have, the glove up ready to catch it, and the pitcher should hit the first baseman in the chest area with the ball, not throwing it high, not throwing it low, but making sure that is a solid throw or toss to the first baseman. Now, this also goes if there's a pop-up. So if there's a pop-up in this area, the pitcher should be again rotating over to where where the first baseman is going or covering first, because you never know what happens. Because if it lands in this area, we don't know if that runner is coming and then takes a big lead and then gets caught up in between. Now, if the pitcher's just standing here, then there's not going to be a play at first. We're not going to be able to get that person at first. But if the pitcher rotates over, like we did right here, and is covering first base, then if the runner overruns first, then we can get them into a situation where, get them going back to first and then maybe throw them out at first. But in any situation, you should always get the runner going back to the base that they were previously at. So we don't want to let them run to second base. We want to get that throw, if we're here, throw it to the shortstop, who should be rotating over and covering second, and then get the runner coming back to first, and then we'll be able to get them, hopefully.